How we doing today, guys? It's Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. And I thought we would read an op-ed from one of my favorite pundits, Jason Whitlock. Now, I didn't know who Jason Whitlock was before he started hanging out at the Blaze, but I recognized the voice, and I didn't even realize why until they started talking about his history. Jason Whitlock was actually a Kansas City Chiefs football commentator and just Kansas City sports in general commentator for like 15, 20 years when I was growing up as a kid. Like, dude was the voice I heard on the radio, and I never even realized it was him. So, push that down 20 years or down to however long into today, and look at what he's doing and how far he's come and how much he's evolved. And it's absolutely amazing. I think Jason's one of the smartest guys out there. I think he's just honest to a fault. Absolutely. I think he really believes what he says, and he says what he believes. And I've really seen a lot of good wisdom come out of him. So I think it's only fair that I share this op-ed with you. So, check this out. And this is over some recent topics that everybody's been talking about. Whitlock. Joe Rogan, Ted Koppel, and Billy Graham were supposed to save America. There's a picture of Joe. Journalists should be Joe Rogan's most passionate defenders. His massive podcast following is built on asking questions. Rogan is an interviewer, not an opinionist. He's Bob Lee, not Skip Bales. I don't know who those people are. Do we even remember Bob Lay, the longtime ESPN broadcaster? Okay, not a super big sports fan, so obviously. Lay joined the sports network 3 days after its 1979 launch and was its signature on-air journalist until 2019. Lee retired. ESPN abandoned his signature show, Outside the Lines, which was sports television's version of Nightline. Joe Rogan's success proves that journalism still makes good business sense. The presentation of information can still drive an audience. Information doesn't need to be dressed up with bombast and snark. Joe Rogan should be a hero. Hey, Fearless. That's Uncle Jimmy on there, too. And you go watch some of Uncle Jimmy's music videos on Jason's YouTube channel. Oh, God, they're hilarious. Uncle Jimmy's funny. Instead, he's being turned into a pariah. His 3-hour interviews with doctors who question the prevailing COVID narratives are being framed as an existential threat to our democracy and health. Rogan's interviews are so dangerous that Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter Nicole Hannah-Jones accused Rogan of being a racist. What the hell? In a since-deleted tweet, Hannah-Jones alleged... Of course they deleted it. Of course she deleted it. Hannah-Jones alleged that Rogan's popularity is due to Americans' comfort with racism. Dude, have you even watched his show? You people are idiots. Absolute morons. Hannah-Jones shared a compilation of video of Rogan using the N-word. There's no context to the video. We don't know how Rogan used the word. For some people, context does not matter. Rogan's white. He used the N-word. He's racist. Rogan's also a comedian. And if you remember, back in the 80s and 90s, before the whole world turned to pussies, a lot of people were using that word in their comedy. Pretty sure Sarah Silverman was using it in her comedy not even 10 years ago. I watched Rogan's interview with Dr. Robert Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough. Malone and McCullough offered COVID opinions that contradict the official government-approved narrative. I've seen a half dozen other Rogan interviews. His interviews don't strike me as particularly dangerous. I've heard nothing racist from Rogan. He's a comedian who likes to use drugs. It wouldn't surprise me if he cracked jokes that could be deemed bigoted. In pursuit of laughs, comedians push the envelope, from Dave Chappelle to Red Fox to Andrew Dice Clay to Paul Mooney. Comedians use racial stereotypes to make audiences laugh. True. Now we're using accusations of racism to silence people who ask the wrong questions or interview the wrong people. Nicole Hannah-Jones, the New York Times, Big Pharma, and Big Tech, are determined to smear Joe Rogan with the same brush that they smeared Alex Jones and Donald Trump. Most people believe Jones and Trump deserve to be smeared and deplatformed. The same is true of black nationalist Louis Farrakhan. But where does the censorship stop? Joe Rogan is a bigot? Is Bill Maher next? Dave Chappelle is transphobic, even though one of his closest friends was trans and ended up committing suicide because of all of the hate that they got because of Dave Chappelle's comedy and the fact that they admitted that they were friends with Dave Chappelle. So wrong. When they're done deplatforming and demonizing comedians, Christian ministers will be next. It's already happening. Ministers are afraid to preach biblical truth. Their goal is now to be inclusive. In a healthy, free society, journalists, comedians, and ministers should feel liberated to explore and discuss uncomfortable truths. Newspaper, comedic stages, and pulpits were sacred grounds for truth-telling. Journalists, comedians, and ministers are supposed to set the boundaries for the truthful debate. Big tech is a poor substitute. Facts. Absolute facts. And it's one of those things. This wasn't a super long piece by Jason at all. So I don't know. What do you guys think of Jason's opinion? I really like it. I think he's right on this. The ministers, the priests, the court jesters, the comedians that we have nowadays, these people have to be able to push the envelope. They have to be able to talk about whatever it is, because pushing the envelope makes people uncomfortable and confront uncomfortable truths. We've all been too comfortable for far too long, and that's part of the problem, because of the fact that we just don't pay attention to these things anymore. Nobody wants to offend anybody. The biggest saying that still pisses me off to this day is, don't talk about religion and politics in polite company. Screw that. That's exactly how we got here, because nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody was so afraid to offend people. The PC culture that just exploded in the 90s. Well, look what it's turned into. The woke culture. Trans everything. Trans cats, trans wolves. Now they're going after children. We tried warning you back in the 90s that it was a slippery slope and nobody wanted to listen. Now look where we are. It's time to stand up. It's time to start talking. It's time to start making your beliefs heard. Because if we don't stand up, if we don't fight back like those truckers up in Canada, and hopefully soon here in the United States, it's going to be over. We're going to lose freedom. And trust me, when we lose it here, there's nowhere left to go. It's over. And once we crash, we're going to be easy pickings for the rest of the world, especially the CCP. And trust me, they're behind a lot of this. So, keep an eye out. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, please, if you would. Because the only way my videos are ever going to get out there is if you share them with your friends. I'm going to try to keep these a little shorter, so maybe they're easier to watch. Let me know what you think. As always, this is Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. Thanks, guys.